Hello. It is I, once again, the Bruce Wayne of Azur Lane, back at it again for another Azur Lane video. So I have done gear tier lists for destroyers, light cruisers, heavy cruisers, large cruisers, and now it's time to move on to the big gun girls, battleships. Now I know right away. Here's my gear tier list for this, and I know right away someone must be looking at this thinking, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? Those are the military letters for WTF. And let me first preface this by saying, because I know I need to get this out of the way, Musashi using the Yamato gun is the highest damage dealer on heavy armor and medium armor in the game. I know someone's gonna obsess over that, because I know some people were feeling some type of way about me putting Musashi where I did on my Battleship tier list. I just put it the way it worked out for me. But in any case, Musashi using the Yamato gun is the best damage you will get against heavy and medium armor, bar none. Now that that is out of the way, I'll just say this. My very first Azur Lane video was actually me using the Mark 7 and the twin 457mm in a test against heavy and medium armor. And what I found was that the Mark 7, the shelling damage combined with the burn damage, makes the Mark 7 better at heavy armor and medium armor than any other gun in the game for the vast majority of battleships. So I'll just go right to the wiki. So you go right here, and I have the Battleship gun set to heavy armor. On paper, the Yamato gun does the most, and then comes the 457, and then the Mark 7 is all the way down here at the bottom. But whenever I have used this in actual tests, the burn damage and the shelling damage combined did more damage than any other gun. So I'll just say the Mark 7, the Mark 7 is the best battleship gun for the vast majority of battleships in the game. On the other hand, outside of the Mark 7, if you're fighting heavy armor, the twin 457mm is a great gun because it fires really fast and it does very high damage. I put the Yamato gun behind the twin 457mm because in most cases, you will actually get an extra salvo in with the 457mm, maybe two. And that is very good. And the Yamato gun's reload is so slow. It is pretty much, I'll just say it fires slow, so you need to get every single hit in order for it to do well. But it is an excellent choice for fighting medium and heavy armor. And then the French gun is a great gun. The French battleship gun, the 406 1938 prototype. This gun is highly good if you don't have any other rainbow guns on heavy armor, because it does tremendous damage, and it has a very high velocity. So the rounds shoot really fast, and the reason that's important is because if you have a moving target, you want the rounds to move as fast as possible so that they can hit the target before it moves out of position. So the 406mm, this gun right here, is very good on heavy armor in a lot of cases if you don't have any of the rainbow guns. Moving on, against medium armor. These guns, the rainbow guns, obviously take the cake, but the Italian gun, which I'll just set this to medium armor. So here we go. The Italian gun fires SAP rounds, and these rounds are pretty much tailored to medium armor, and they do tremendous damage. They do slack off at heavy armor considerably, and they're okay on light armor. So if you encounter a heavy armor enemy, this is not a good gun at all. But the Italian gun is a very good gun on medium armor. Now, for light armor specifically, all the HE guns reign supreme. Obviously, the Mark 7 is the absolute decimator and destroyer of all things light armor. But the Mark 6, if you don't have the Mark 7, the Mark 6 is the next best thing. And then the triple 381 millimeter is a good gun on light armor. It fires faster, but the rounds do less damage than the Mark 6. But it is still a very solid gun. And then the twin 406 millimeter fires very fast and does exceptionally good damage on light armor. So the German gun is very good for light armor. And then, but if you're looking to proc a skill, you want a twin barrel gun. So all the twin barrel guns are very good for proccing skills because they fire faster. I will say obviously the Rainbow Twin 457 millimeter is the best twin firing gun. The German gun is the next best, and then there's this gun right here, which is good so long as the fight does not last beyond 4 salvos. So you go here to the skill, and it says note experimental gun. When equipped by a ship, increases her main gun damage by 10%, but increases her reload time by 35% from the 5th shot onwards. Okay, so 5 shots, but most battles won't last that long. Most battles really won't last that long, so this is a good gun in a lot of cases, so long as the battle doesn't drag out for too long, if you don't have the Rainbow gun. So that is it for main guns, but if anyone doubts me about the Mark 7, test it out for yourself. It is the truth. I did a video where I did a test with it, and I was surprised at how good the Mark 7 is. Moving on to auxiliary guns. So for a auxiliary gun light cruiser slot, the Rainbow gun is by far the best choice because it provides a 65 firepower stat boost. And that is hard to beat. And it's also a decent gun for intercepting suicide boats and all that, but that firepower boost will help your main gun do a lot more damage, and it will help, if you are using an HE gun, help the burn damage burn faster and brighter. So highly recommend this gun for auxiliary light cruiser gun. And then the German gun has the narrowest spread. So when you're using the German gun, it will have the narrowest spread, and it is more likely to get all rounds on the target, and that's better for suicide boats. So it will most likely kill a suicide boat very quickly. On the other hand, if you don't have any of these guns, the American gun is highly effective in most cases, and it also gives you a nice 15 point anti-air boost. So these 3 guns are the best choices, but the Rainbow gun is definitely the one you want. Now moving on to destroyer auxiliary guns. So I'll just go to the wiki. This gun right here, the twin 137 millimeter, is pretty much tailored for battleships. It gives both a 35 stat firepower boost and a 10% or 10 stat AA boost. So that's very good. On the other hand, the Chinese gun gives the same stats. Here is the deal between these 2 guns. On the twin 137 millimeter, the rounds do more damage. It fires slower, but the rounds do more damage. So if you're targeting a suicide boat, which you're only probably going to get 1 salvo in on a suicide boat anyway, this is the better gun. It does poorly against heavy armor, though. So, and you're never going to find a heavy armor boss up close unless you're doing PvP. So this is the best gun for the vast majority of the content in the game. The Chinese gun is a solid, excellent choice. And then the German gun. If you go down to the German destroyer gun, It also gives you a nice firepower boosting stat, but it gives you a little bit more anti-air, and it's a pretty darn good interceptor of suicide boats as well. So this would be my third choice, but if you have any of the first two, these two are way better. Yeah. Now, moving on to best anti-air gun. So, if you are moving into heavy anti-air content and you want your battleship to survive, put the rainbow gun on them. This gun will give them a nice, incredibly high anti-air boost, and enemy aircraft will do less damage, but it'll still provide decent damage to aircraft. Now, if you're looking to maximize the range, I would use this gun. On the other hand, for battleships, what battleships lack is accuracy. So, the Stag 40mm for almost all situations is the best choice for battleships. I wouldn't even worry about this gun. I wouldn't even factor it in. Use the Stag 40mm. And then this gun is a poor performing version of the Stag 40mm. So if you don't have this, this is still more preferable because it gives you a 5 hit points. So I would say this is a good gun. But the Stag 40mm is the reigning supreme champ. It takes the cake. Now, auxiliary gear on a battleship is very, well, it's very specific. So this right here is the, let's see, Admiralty Fire Control Table. And this gives, in terms of firepower and accuracy, the best stat increase you could give to a battleship. If you did the event where this was available, this is the best gear you could possibly put on a battleship. And then it has this added benefit of reduces the cooldown of first shelling by 15%, reduces main gun dispersion by 2 points, and you limit to one of these. The high performance fire control radar does the same thing as reducing the first cooldown by 15%. So this is very, very good on battleships. On the other hand, the white shell and the black shell are also extremely good equipment for a battleship. High firepower boost, some accuracy boost, and then increases your main gun critical damage by 25%. And then, where's the super heavy shell? Here we go. This is a pure firepower stat boost, which is very good, but this increases your main gun crit chance by 8%. So if you're looking exclusively for damage increase, running these two shells together is the best you're probably going to get for a battleship. If you're looking for raw, pure damage increase, these two together is the dynamic duo of damage. Now, moving on, the fire control radar and the SG radar are also very good choices for a battleship. Fire control radar gives a nice firepower stat and accuracy stat, but it also lowers your cooldown of your first salvo by 15%, so you'll get an early shot. This is very, very good on battleships. On the other hand, the SG radar gives only a very large accuracy increase, but it gives some EVA, and a little bit of EVA on a battleship goes a long way in terms of survivability. So this is very good for survivability on battleships, but it also gives that nice accuracy boost that battleships desperately need. Now, for Royal Navy ships, they have their own specific shell, and that is this here, the 6CRH armor piercing shell. This gives a very good firepower boost and a very good accuracy boost. But you go down here, when equipped on Royal Navy ships, increases main gun critical damage by 30%. AP shell with the largest effect takes precedence. So this is a kind of souped up version of the white shell for Royal Navy ships only. So this is a very solid choice just for Royal Navy ships. Yeah, the black shell and this on a Royal Navy ship is a pretty good choice. Now, moving on to if using one of these and you need mission specific gear, I would say for anti-air specifically, this radar is exceptionally good for anti-air. This provides a 100 anti-air point boost. So this is good. The VH armor plating is also a good option if you are worried about the survivability of your battleship. I will say though, this is probably should not be put on battle cruisers if you're going into anti-air heavy content. But this is very good if you're just worried about the survivability and you want a pure survivability boost for battleships. The auto loader, subjectively usable. In specific scenarios, you could use it to probably squeeze out one more salvo if the time permits. So the auto loader, very, very situationally possibly usable. I have used it on only one specific case where it managed to help me squeeze out an extra salvo. And in most cases, though, the overwhelming vast majority of cases, you don't use this. But it's just worthy of note, you can use it for one more extra salvo. And then this right here, the Funk Mess Radar, this provides a very high firepower and very high accuracy boost that is highly usable to a battleship. But the fire control radar is generally better in almost every way in most situations. So these are the gears you should really just focus on. If you don't have these are also obtainable. But just use the first line. In almost all cases, the first line of these gears, some combination of these, is the best you're going to get for your battleships. So anyway, that is my battleship gear tier list. And yeah, if you find this useful, please let me know. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. Farewell and following seas, my fellow Shikikons. Take it easy.